Thank you.
Field trip request.
Make a motion to accept the field trip request to the Isabella Garden Museum.
In MIT. And MIT. It's the two places, but
And MIT.
I second.
We have a second.
I have,
Discussion?
I have a question. Is this, it doesn't seem to include any money from the students for buses. Do we absorb, does the district absorb that cost normally for field trips? Or it looks like it's just admission to Isabella Gardner Museum and MIT.
Yes. Yes, the
District pays.
district absorbs.
Yeah, we transport, I'm sorry, we transport the others.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion, Dave?
Yeah, I don't support this trip. I support the place they're going and the things they're doing, but I'm no longer supporting field trips for ALP students and not for everybody else. I think if we're going to afford an opportunity to expose our kids to art or science, I think we should do it across the board or across the grade level, because you could make the argument that it's the other kids that need it the most. Your ALPs are your higher learners, and we're giving them more experiences than we are the other people. And from my own reporting from school, there is a bit of I don't know what you want to call it, but the kids realize this. They realize that there's those kids that get to go on these trips, miss a day of school, you know, go have fun or whatever, and there's other kids that don't. And, you know, I think we're looking at 21st century here and exposing kids to things. I would rather send a whole grade on this field trip or not, or send them somewhere else. I love field trips when we can afford them. I think that gets kids thinking in a different way. There are probably days that they remember when they didn't remember, one more day of class time stuff. But I just am not going to support the difference between some students going and some students not.
Well, I don't think we should stop these students from going and joining. Other teachers from the other grades and the other classes can ask for a field trip too. They're not limited, I mean, it's not limited to this group. They just came up with a field trip idea and they're presenting it. If someone else that wasn't on here wanted to ask for a field trip from the art class or from anything, math class, I think they could ask for that. I don't think it's stopping the others from going.
Provided it went through the proper approvals, sure.
Right, same as this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this group is determined by their academic ability, and because they're ALP students, and I'm all for that. I'm glad that they're achieving, but I think if we delineated it by grade or even by art class, because an art class would contain kids of all levels, and I would make the argument that sometimes these field trips or having a speaker come in might have a more effect on a learner that's having more trouble, because it might grab their attention. So I think this is just something that we shouldn't delineate it by academic achievement. I think it becomes an award, and I think it is divisive in the school as far as who gets to go and who doesn't get to go. And if it was simply a class and you were in the class, like the band gets to go to, when they go to their festival, they go to Canopy Lake, you know, because they're in the band. And you can try out for the band, and you can, from what I understand, there's even kids that like to be in the band because they like to go to Canopy Lake. But I think that's different than taking this segment and sending them and expending this money and not including the rest of the regular learners.
Okay, well, I don't want to belabor the point again, just to say that it's not these students' fault that they're in these classes. I mean, they're in these classes, the teachers want to take them to this experience. Again, I think they shouldn't be punished for that because they're in these classes for certain standards that they met. You know, just like you said, band, some people could take band, some, you know, don't choose to take it. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they should be punished because they were in these classes. It's not their fault. that they're in these classes, so I think they should have the experience. That's enough.
Trish?
I'm actually in favor of this field trip. I think that our society as a whole does far too little to help our advanced students become more advanced. That we want everyone to be in the middle and not high or low, and I think that these students in their other experiences, when they have been afforded opportunities, have taken those opportunities and gone forward with what they have been exposed to.
I would just like to take exception to what Mr. Dubin says about punishing. This is an act that if we approve this, it gives something. But by no means are we punishing anybody by taking anything away if we don't. The ALPS kids have an ALPS program, and this is not what we're voting on today. So I wouldn't characterize this as any type of punishment. It's either we are approving an added field trip here, or we're not. But we're not taking anything away if we don't.
Right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to use the word punishment. I should not have used the word punishment. What I meant to say, perhaps, is we shouldn't deprive these students of this experience, and I agree with you that other students of all levels, even the students with not at this level, probably would get more out of this too, and get a lot out of this experience, but I just don't think we should deprive these students of this. Sorry for taking too much time.
I'll just throw in one last comment. I went to the Museum of Science in 7th grade, and I remember every part of the day, but I was not in an advanced class. I went with the 7th grade, and I still have a love of science based on that day. So to me, we might have an artist that didn't make ALPS that would love this experience, or a scientist or something. And if we have these funds, I think it makes more sense at a certain grade level, where maybe they're being introduced into this level of art or science, we send them at that grade level, than to kind of segment these kids out. So I'll end on that, because the hour's late. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of approving that motion, or the motion to approve the field trip, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
4-1.